Now, listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime. That's great. This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth. Right now. Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it.
It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody. Showtime.
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 3 o'clock on the 7th day of November in the Lord's year 2016. I am J. Michael McCoy. And I'm, I don't know what my emotion is today. I just got back from the funeral. You know, the funeral. And then I didn't mean to. I think Jesus meant to, but I didn't mean to get into the procession or whatever you want to call it to the graveyard. I think Jesus wanted me in it. I mean, that's not my deal. I don't do that kind of stuff, right? But I am moved beyond, well, I'm never moved beyond words because that's just not me. But some of the words I got inside, I probably, I don't know. I'm going to share some of them with you. I mean, I literally, Frank, when did I walk in? 15 minutes ago? 7 minutes ago?
Yeah, you cut her razor thin.
Well, the funeral or the side is down here at Waveland.
Oh, yeah, on University.
Yeah. And so we took the procession all the way from Lutheran Church of Hope, and you wait till you see this thing on TV. It is not something that you see in Des Moines, Iowa very often. Now, I have. When those two officers were killed on that head-on crash by that drunk driver last year, or earlier this year, I think it was earlier this year, I saw this type of thing. But this is the type of thing you see on TV and it's happening somewhere else. It's like watching the Cubs parade on Friday.
Right.
And Bob, this is impacting you. Can you even talk about how it's impacting you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we...
First of all, tell people this other thing that you do over here.
Yeah, I am a member of the Polk County Critical Incident Stress Management Team, and our team will go out when requested to conduct group debriefings or one-on-one counseling type sessions for any of the people that may have been affected directly, meaning law enforcement or any of the emergency services or even the community. So we will go out and educate people on how to deal with the stress and grief related to a terrible incident like this. And so we've been getting requests, and we've also have been working with the community, and we'll continue to do that. And we've been working with police agencies and helping them deal with this tragedy.
How many people do that here locally?
Well, there are different teams. I know Des Moines PD has their own team. Red Cross has a team. We work out of the Polk County Health Department, and we do that. So there are several teams that are not only here, but across the state and across the country that do this type of work. And I've just been doing it for about 28, 29 years now.
And tell me, I mean, in a nutshell, it doesn't have to be too small a nutshell. We've got some time. How do you train for something like this?
Well, there is formal training that's out there. I did training through the International Critical Incident Stress Foundation. They're located on the East Coast. And many people across the country are trained through that particular organization. And my experience really happened when I was at the Sioux City air crash in 1989. I experienced critical incident stress, It basically messed me up pretty bad that I was going to quit working for the state at that time because I thought I wasn't tough enough.
Because you were a crime lab investigator.
Yeah, I worked.
Right?
I was a CSI guy. Worked out of the crime lab.
Yeah,
and did that for 35 years. But that incident took place in '89, and I had worked 10 years of homicide investigations and wasn't really affected until the plane crash in Sioux City. And then I learned firsthand what it was to experience critical incident stress and suffer through it without knowing that my reactions were normal reactions to an abnormal event. And so then I took the training right after that.
Was it because, well, I'm just going to say it. You know, this is adult radio. If you've got little kids listening, I don't know if you want them to listen to this. No, you know what? If you've got little kids listening, I want them to listen to this. But mom or dad, you may have to explain it. So your call. You want to explain why Barney's purple? That's cool. You want to explain why Bob had body parts of human beings that he had to go find and tag and figure out whose hand belonged to whose arm, to whose body, to whose head? I hope you let him listen. So what was it about Sioux City? Because you'd done 10 years of homicide, so you'd seen ugly bodies and dead bodies and beaten bodies and shot bodies and burned bodies.
Yes.
Was it just that you saw 200 and some of them during this plane thing, or what?
Well, many times people don't understand whether they're going to, have a stress reaction that's going to really alter the way they think and act, and I thought I was immune after experiencing 10 years of homicide investigations. I thought I saw about every way a person could die, and then when Sioux City came along, we had 112 people that died in that plane crash, and I was out there and I was trying to analyze, why am I feeling so bad when I've had all this experience with death? And I started to reason with myself that it was because these were totally innocent people that were flying on an airplane, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, children, small kids. I mean, there were 18 kids that died on that plane because at the time United had a deal that kids fly free with a paying adult, and we had 52 kids on board that plane that went down, a DC-10. And so we were looking at entire families that were sitting together, and some survived and some did not survive. And so that had a big impact in the 3.5 days that I was there in Sioux City. And because I not only worked on picking up the dead, photographing them, I worked through the morgue process.
Didn't you say it bothered you too, that you felt a burden that you had to give some closure and remains to the family members? In other words, you want to find the remains and give them something to bury.
Well, that's the thing. Our job was to identify those that had died, and we did it through dental. We did it through fingerprints or any other type of identification, tattoos, jewelry, whatever the case is. We went through the identification process. This was before DNA analysis. So we didn't have DNA at the time, and obviously we have it now, and so we can use that also to identify people, though in New York there's still over 1,000 people we haven't identified. But that impacted me because I think in part because I had kids that were the same age as the kids that I was dealing with there on the runway and in the plane itself. And so I was feeling empathy for family members, for the moms and the dads that had lost their kids. I was living the grief. I was grieving, for them when I was working with their kids, because it's hard not to, because when children die, it's definitely not the right order of life, and it's very difficult to deal with. So after those 3.5 days, I did suffer. I remember I went back home, and I was, when they were transporting me back from Sioux City to home after we were done, I kept thinking about my little kids and how I was going to grab them and hug them and tell them I loved them, and the same with my wife, and that was my only plan. And then when I got back, that's exactly what I did, and then I didn't know what to do after that, because at that time I had all of the hard drive in my head was repeating all of the scenes that I saw. The scenes of all the dead were just constantly haunting me, and I thought I would never get over it. I thought I could never be happy again. And that I never experienced before. But this is what people will experience when they go through critical incident, just like what we had now and just like what we have and these responders that respond. day in and day out to tragic events. People dying in car crashes because of drunk drivers or because of other reasons, or people being shot, drug deals. You have to respond and do your job and work with those dead people. So you have to see those horrible scenes, motorcycle crashes, people being destroyed. I'm just saying that there is so much tragic and horror out there. How do you deal with it? And that's why we have our team. I have experience. I know how people, tend to feel because I've been there and I felt similar. I had similar experiences and I felt, and so now I have an idea and know how to help people get through these things.
Unbelievable. All right. So I'm not at a loss for words. I keep wanting to say I'm at a loss for words, but that's a throwaway line. Because I'm not at a loss for words.
You're trying to choose them careful?
I'm trying to choose them real careful. I was at the funeral, and I saw these things, I smelled these things, I heard these things, I felt these things. Not what you did, Bob, but I don't know why. I've always been a person who has been comfortable at a funeral. I don't like that word comfortable, but I'm not freaked out by it. I don't mind going to funerals. Most of the time, they're celebrations of life. And when they're not, I probably learn from them more when they're not. And this definitely was. And then we had the procession, which took about an hour. All right, let's take our break. Come back, and I got something stunning that I want to say. I hope I can say it.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi. My name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock, 3:21 in the afternoon. J. Michael McCoy live on the radio. Max World Live, MAC''S worldlive.com. Also Mac McCoy, MACMCKOY.com. And our phone lines are open. We've got this is an open show today. We don't do these very often. What is an open show? An open show is when we need you to call. I mean, I'll just say it that way. I always ask for you to call. I tell you that it's your voice I want to hear, and here's the phone number, and here's the text line. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but Bob and Frank and I and Chris and Jebediah do just fine if you don't call. That's it's one of the things about talk radio. You can't rely. Because I don't know what you're doing today. I don't know how busy you are. I don't know where your heart is. Maybe you don't care about the same things we care about. Maybe you're just unconnected today. Maybe you've already shut me off and all you're listening to is this. I hope not. But I want to know what you're feeling. Now, maybe it's a little raw for me. I saw the funeral. Listen to Jeremy preach, Pastor Jeremy. Then I got caught up in the procession. Me and Clutch. And every single overpass from Jordan Creek to 56th. I'm sorry, 63rd. I'm going east now. Because the officer is, as we speak, is now being laid to rest. I mean, it was 2:30. Oh, no, it was probably 2:45 when I finally was able to break away from the procession, and I went straight on Merle Hay Road after we got off on 63rd. And they took 63rd and then went back east on University and went down to Cemetery. I think it's called Waveland, isn't it? Or is that Glenwood? Glendale. And you're going to see this on TV tonight. This is one night. I hope or if you're on social media, I posted a video that a buddy of mine, Chris Huffman, did. He's been a cop for ages in Des Moines. Love that man. I wish you guys could know cops the way I know cops. Maybe you do. I mean, the way I know cops is not rare. It's just because of what I do. Back in the day, back in the old KIOA days and Q102 days, I mean, I'm going back, 40 years, 35 years. I started my day down at the cop shop. That's what we called it, the police department. I don't mean to be, improper when I call it the cop shop. By the way, that's my phone. I have to leave it on today because I've got all kinds of stuff going on with this funeral. And I'd be down at the cop shop 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'd have all the files in a basket, and you'd go through as many as you wanted to. They had to do that back then. Well, they have to do it now, but they have a lot more red tape that journalists have to jump through. Even though there is this thing called Freedom of Information Act, it's what do I want to call it? It's bureaucracy. But I'd get down there 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. I was on the air at 5 with the news, so you'd go through the files and you'd look at different things. You'd look at names and you'd look at what the crime was and you'd look at the area that it was in, and if something kind of stuck out, on a police call or something, and I quickly would make notes in my reporter's notebook and Because you didn't get copies. Did we even have copy machines? Oh, I guess we had copy machines back then. IBMs, they were called. So you'd make your notes, and then you'd go in and you'd write your news, send it off to the Associated Press, if you were a AP stringer, and I still am. And you'd get to know the police. You'd feel their stress. You'd feel what they were up against. This is 40 years ago. I can't imagine what it's like today. I just, phew. Well, I guess I do know what it's like today because I still have some of the same friends and new friends that wear blue. And I've also been on the other side of the cops. I spent 2 days in jail. You don't drink and drive like I did and sooner or later not get busted. In fact, the last OWI I hit a policeman's car at midnight at 86th and Hickman on a Saturday night. Boy, if that wasn't doing it in front of Macy's on Thanksgiving Day parade. But the cops have always been good to me. Always. Even when I wasn't good to them. And to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men and women in blue today. Whew. It's kind of tough. Chris, welcome to the party.
Good to be here, sir.
Going to have to watch the news tonight. You just can't believe what that looked like. Every overpass had 2 fire trucks back to back. Okay, backed up to each other with the ladders up with a big American flag hanging vertically. So we saw it at Jordan Creek. And, Jordan Creek and I-80. And then we saw it on the pedestrian. And then we saw it on the I-80 overpass, 8035. And then we saw it on whatever the next one was. What was the next one? 60th. And then 50th. And then 25th. Or 35th, I'm sorry. And it just kept going. And fire trucks from all over. Not just Des Moines. All over. EMT vehicles. All over. State Patrol. What do I want to call them? Unmarked cars all over the place. All their lights are on. And you could not get on the freeway. It was blocked off. So if you were in the procession, you were in the procession, whether you wanted to be or not. And then there were police cars, state patrol cars, one in every lane, holding back that traffic that wasn't in the procession. So they didn't zip in and out and try to get around and get frustrated. So it was this mass of cars. And police cars and fire trucks and EMT with everybody's lights are going. So it's not necessarily a cloudy day today, but it's not a bright sunny day. It was in many ways probably the perfect day to be able to see the impact that these cars and these lights had. It was just unbelievable. The only time I've ever seen anything like this was I went to Reagan's funeral, and it was kind of like this, but there wasn't the sadness that's here. And then, of course, earlier this year when those 2 police people were killed in that head-on crash by that driver, OWI driver, which, she died too, or he died. All right, 515-244-0077. That's the number you can call if you want to give some input. Maybe you were out there watching this. Maybe you were at the funeral. Maybe the Channel 13 carried it live. Phenomenal. Started before 11 and ended after 1. The parking lot at Hope was closed because there were so many police cars and state patrol. If you were a regular person like I was today, I was a regular person. I was just a person today. I had to park over at St. Francis and walk over. It was just filled with police cars from everywhere. License plates from Minnesota, Nebraska, Missouri, Illinois, Kansas. I mean, just phenomenal what we saw. Frank?
Well, sadly, in my opinion, we're setting up a scenario in this country where I believe it's open season on police officers. And as I said, sadly, it doesn't seem to register with some folks who are, I don't want to make it all overtly political, but there's a candidate out there that says he stands for the police, and there's another candidate out there that kind of backs in my opinion, the rebel rousers as part of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I just, I think it's clear that if we're going to have law and order in this country and we're going to protect our police officers. Now, as Bob and I were talking during the break, there's a lot of police officers out there who are not, they're the opposite of what Mac talks about. There's some bad police officers, and I've ran into a few of them in my life. And I've always been courteous to police officers. When I get pulled over for any kind of a speeding or any kind of a traffic violation, yes, sir, no, sir, I have my license ready. I don't give them no guff. Never have been a person, I heard those stories when I was a kid. Well, when the police officer comes up to your window, say, I'll have a cheeseburger, a fry, and a Coke. Never uttered that out of my mouth.
Yeah, me neither.
Wouldn't even think of doing that. I give the police officers their due respect.
Yeah, my mother being a Superior Court justice, I could have taken the Lord's name in vain in my house and probably got slapped less than if I had misused any type of or abused any type of person of the law.
But as I started to say, there's some police officers out there.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
That are not walking the line that they should, and those officers ought to be prosecuted to the fullest. But you don't take law into your own hands and have vigilante justice out on the street and start capping police officers for whatever reason. There's a court system designed for that, and this individual had some mental issues and had some run-ins with the police, and apparently he decided to try to take the matters into his own hands, and we just can't have that in this country. We have to have a system in this country, as corrupt as some police officers may be, that you respect the law and you fight your grievances in a courtroom.
Yeah, that's what Mom always told me. You're going to get a ticket, and that's all it is. It's an accusation. And you're going to get an opportunity in America to go before a judge, and you're going to have to face your accuser. The cop's going to be there telling his story. And most people don't do that because why? Because we know we're guilty. But I've done a couple, I think, in my life. Not very many, but I think I've done a couple where I've gone and said, I'm sorry, I just don't think I did what the police officer did, or said I did. But Frank, I was thinking about that today. Clutch asked me in the car, because Clutch and I were both in the car in this thing. And he said, what do you think is going to be the impact on our community after all this is over? I mean, tomorrow, do we wake up and it's election day and we forget about this? Now, obviously, there are people that will never forget. There are people who will kind of remember. And then there are people who will... What happened?
Well, as Charles Barkley so eloquently said, we don't need the Wild West in our neighborhoods, and we need police. We need police.
All right, so I'm going to propose something that's kind of radical. I'm glad I've got Chris in here because he can speak for all the conservative Christians who are probably going to want to throw eggs at me when I tell you this. But I have an idea of how this ought to impact our community. And I want to hear your opinion on it. That's coming up next on The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
You can't get it, can you? You just 3:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News, and then we continue today with a. I don't know. Is this a tribute to Baminian, the police? I guess it kind of is in a way. Anthony
Baminio?
I think it's Baminio.
Baminio?
Yeah.
Somebody will call and straighten that out.
It's been a heavy broadcast, I'll tell you that. It's been a quieter broadcast than Max World generally is. I think, a lot of times Max World is loud and lots of voices and goofing around and being silly and stuff, but it's been a pretty heavy broadcast. In fact, it sounded like I wasn't even here for the whole first segment.
You weren't?
No.
Where were you?
I was in the car listening. No, I was driving over here. But, that it's really been and this is I was not in the procession, so I'm anxious to hear. You have piqued my interest, Mr. McCoy. I want to know how this funeral impacted you. You said at the beginning of this hour that you've attended a lot of funerals in your life, and
I have, and a lot of official funerals.
Yeah. And you said that you didn't like using the word, but you said you feel comfortable. You're not icky. You didn't feel icky about them. You're not uncomfortable.
Right.
A lot of times people just don't feel.
No, I'm not that way.
But this one impacted you differently.
Well, I think first of all that I have a respect. I'm going to say this in the right order, because it would be wrong for me to tell you I have a love and respect, meaning number one and number two,
right,
for our men and women in blue. I have a phenomenal respect first, and it goes back to high school.
Yeah,
State Patrolman Jerry DeWitt, my girl lived miles south of my hometown in a little town called Wymore, Nebraska, and so I traveled 13 miles down and 13 miles back, and sometimes 13 miles down and 13 miles back again. And I don't know if this makes sense to you, but if you've ever ridden with me, have you ever noticed that my right foot is heavier than my left foot?
I have noticed that.
Yeah, because you've been in the car with me, Frank. Have you've never ridden with me?
Yeah, I rode up to see this tower
Oh, okay. So did you notice that my right foot, for some reason, is heavier than my left?
Yes, it can be, yes.
Bob, you've never seen that.
I've ridden with you.
But have you noticed that my right foot can be heavier than my left?
Well, I just noticed when I'm sitting in the front seat with you, I'm always slamming on the floorboards. I don't know why.
Like the driver's ed teacher.
Right.
Hold on! Hold on! Oh! And so, State Patrolman Jerry DeWitt and his son was like one of my best buddies. And then Jerry'd come home and, I got that McCoy kid again. I lost my driving privileges before I was 17 for like 90 days or whatever it was. Because this was before Fuzzbusters, but we did have CB radios, so we'd check out where the Smokies were. You ever hear police called Smokies?
The Smokies.
Yeah, Smokies.
That just dated you.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah. Jeb doesn't know what that is.
You know what a Smoky is, Jebediah?
No, I've never heard that before.
It's a term for a highway patrolman.
Okay. Yeah.
You've heard the.
See, I've never heard that.
You've heard of the movie Smokey and the Bandits?
Nope.
No. Are you serious?
What year did it come out? Because I likely haven't seen it.
70s.
Yeah, haven't seen it.
How old do we feel, guys?
Yeah, but they play that movie all the time, even into 2016.
How do you not know Smokey and the Bandit?
Do you know Burt Reynolds and Jackie Gleason?
Nope.
No! Oh! I am official. Do you?
Yes, I know.
Okay. I'm officially ancient.
Jeb was born in 2000, right, Jeb?
93 to be exact.
Oh, 93.
93.
Yeah, sorry.
A little bit.
93. Wow.
That's hard to believe that someone would be born in 93.
I had my grandchild's almost as old as you. I just realized that. Okay, anyway, never mind. I don't like to remind myself that I'm old. But every time Jerry pulled me over, and I was a smart aleck kid. I don't know if you can imagine that,
That's
but
hard
I was.
To believe. Hard to believe.
Hard to believe.
Felt very entitled in my life.
Hard to believe.
Felt very better than, big better than sign. But when it came to police and fire and state patrol, that wasn't there. And Jerry would tell my dad, I love my dad. My dad would call Jerry. I'm sorry that my son was speeding again. I'm a good community member, and I've told him, and it's, John, it's okay. Your son's a wreck. He's a train wreck. His life's going to be a travesty. We can all see it. I'm sorry you can't. No, that's not true.
A wreck ready to happen.
But even when Jerry would pull me over, and it would make me mad, because he was looking for me. Now, he's passed away now. Because if he hadn't passed away, I'd call him on the phone right now, and I'd thank him. I'd thank him for protecting Highway 77 from Beatrice to Wymore when that McCoy kid went on his broad candy apple red Mustang Mach 1 4-speed on the floor with a Windsor 4-barrel. I mean, it was 351, baby. 350. You can get that, can't you?
Yeah.
Did that all made sense to you?
Yes, that
lingo?
made sense to me. Yeah.
So I had it. You know what a Mach 1 was? Seriously, you don't. Okay. So like a 70 or a 71 candy apple red Ford Mustang MACH1 with a 351 engine. That's the big. Is that the biggest they had at that time?
No, but that was the.
The power.
They had 429s you could put in one, but that was.
But that wouldn't fit in a Mustang.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yes, yeah. But that was the general that either a Windsor or a Cleveland block.
Oh yeah, Windsor were the best, right?
Well, the Windsors were made in Windsor, Ontario, and the Clevelands obviously were manufactured in the Cleveland plants.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
Huh?
Okay, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Pardon me. All right.
Better not snore because your daughter wants one, remember?
Don't remind me.
So it was not unusual for little Mackie McCoy running down Highway 77 at 90, 95, 100.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this one curve, and the curve kind of went Is this boring radio? It is, isn't it?
Well, I kind of want to know how the funeral impacted you, but
okay.
This is
well, but anyway, I come over this little hump or this little hill, and then it would bank a little bit, and behind the highway was a gravel road, and that's where State Patrolman Jerry DeWitt would sit. And so he could clock me on his radar coming down over that, and I was because I was a NASCAR driver. Well, actually, back then it wasn't NASCAR. It would have been Formula or IndyCar.
So they had radar back then in those days?
I think they didn't they? Yeah, because I can remember telling Jerry I wanted to see the radar all the time.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, okay. So I'd come over that hill, and it'd bank a little bit to the right, so I'd grip it.
And I thought you was A.J. Foyt.
I was A.J. Foyt, baby. That's right. Do you know who A.J. Foyt is?
No.
Who?
Jeb, yeah, thanks. And Jerry DeWitt would be sitting right, and you couldn't see him. He's behind the bank. And I'd come out over that hill, and there's those red lights in my back window, and I'd say something like, "Thank you, Jesus." No, that's not what I'd say.
Aw, nuts.
And I'd get another ticket.
And it didn't help that the car was red.
Didn't help that it didn't help. It wouldn't have mattered what color it was.
Well, but red catches the eye. I mean, if you see a white car going down the road as opposed to a red car, you're going to immediately notice the red car.
You noticed mine. I had dual
exhausts.
Well, I had dual exhaust, but I had Kragers.
Right.
And I had dual CB antennas on the back, whips. And the if you remember the Mach 1, the hood thing was functional.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he knew the car.
He could smell it coming. How did the funeral impact me today? We will get to that. It's an end we never, ever, ever forget. Coming back live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, IV, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called airs afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before 4 o'clock, 3:50 in the afternoon, top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then we'll continue today's special edition. The phone is ringing. Jebediah is answering because it's your voice we want to hear. 515-244-0077. We're just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of want to reflect today. We got a couple other things. Obviously, tomorrow's election day, and the FBI just, put their head way up Hillary's backside today and said, I don't think there's anything wrong.
It's not so much Hillary. They're covering Obama. They have to cover that Obama was complicit because he was emailing Hillary back and forth on this illegal server, and they cannot ever let it be known that Obama knew about it. So they're not so much protecting Hillary.
But doesn't that show up in WikiLeaks?
Nobody seems to care. They drop bombs every day, and no one seems to care. I mean, the idea that that the Hillary campaign funded people to go disrupt and start fights at Trump rallies and then have the gall to stand in the debates and say there's violence at your rallies when she was the one that was starting it and paying people $1,500 and a cell phone and a smartphone to do it. Nobody cares about this stuff.
Okay, Frank, just keep your britches on.
Okay.
I'll give you a chance later to talk about this because I know you're itching to, there's 3 more days we're going to talk about this garbage, and that's it.
It's tomorrow. That's it.
Today, tomorrow, and then we've got a nice election wrap-up on Wednesday. I think both Shane and Brian are coming in tomorrow.
Well, Brian is going to come in tomorrow. Shane will come for the wrap-up.
Okay, because they both can't be here on the same day.
Right, yeah.
And I think Tommy Coates is in tomorrow.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's the kind of the big last day. A lot of people are I'm hearing the buzz that they're already calling it for Hillary, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm just telling you, it's going to be Hillary by a landslide. And that's just a political opinion. It's not what I want, obvious. Listen, Frank is going to be the Tasmanian devil if Hillary gets in. We are going to have to listen to Frank for at least 4 years.
No.
About how horrible she is.
Frank will give up on politics if Hillary wins.
Can we? Jebediah, write that down. 3:52 on the 7th day of. Are you writing this down? Okay, 3:52 on the 7th day of November in the Lord's year 2016. Frank the Verse Thomas said,
"I'm going to give up on politics if Hillary wins."
Oh. He said it again.
Oh, we got it on tape. I'm going to make that a soundbite.
Tom Coates is throwing stuff at the radio right now. Don't give up on me, Frank. Don't give up on me.
Every time Frank starts talking about politics in the future, I'm going to do some hand signal to Jebediah, and he's going to push the button, and it's going to be Frank saying, if Hillary's elected, I'm going to give up on politics. All right, let's go to the phones. Taylor from Ames. Taylor, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing today?
Hey, Mac, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good, buddy. What's up?
Well, I got an email this morning, and I'm a student at Iowa State, and first thing I do is I wake up and check my emails, and I had a message from President Lee, president of the university.
Yeah, I got a thing from Tamara Scott on this. What is this about?
I just talked to Tamara. It's a 2.5-minute video, and the title of the video, usually I don't even really see what his messages are, because usually they're not of much importance, but the message says from the president of Iowa State, and it talks about the divisiveness of the election and the extent of the First Amendment and how it's been pushed to the farthest extent in this election. And then he goes on to talk about these white culture posters.
Hold on. The who to who?
He talks about the election, and then he talks about these posters that were put up a couple weeks ago that ended up being white culture posters.
White culture posters.
White? As in from white people, or white as in white?
Is in white. The pictures say, I'm going back to look at the pictures. Some of them say in the 1950s, it was 90. In 1950 America, we were 90% white. It is now only 60% white. Will you become a minority?
Right.
Anyway, I don't know why he tied those two together, talking about racism and the election. Why he was taking a stance on this. Why those two were even correlated. So it was something of great concern to me that a publicly paid official would tie these two things together and send it out to such a massive crowd of kids, which are very influential.
All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I have got this thing in front of me. I'm going to get it in front of Jebediah, and then we'll listen to the audio of this. Jeb, can you... Here, I'll grab it for you. I'll get it to you. All right. Hey, listen, Taylor, thanks. And to call back, we'll play that next hour, okay? And then I'd like more of your input on this, but we'll get it set up so we can play at the beginning of next hour, okay?
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, Taylor, man, thanks for listening. So, like I said, we're going to get to several things today. Here's the point I want to make. So Clutch says to me, we're coming along, and maybe Clutch and I are just old. I don't know. You know, you and Jebediah, you don't care if people die. You don't care if they're white. You don't care if Black Lives Matter. You just care if you get your games played and your paychecks on time and whatever you millenniums think. Are you a millennium?
No.
But Jeb's a millennium.
Yes.
What are you? No, you're not a millennium?
Millennial.
Oh, well, what the heck?
Gen X for you, Chris.
Are you Gen X?
Cynical.
Yep. Chris is only 1 year from being an old codger. He's going to be 40.
So, I'm just going to say this before the break, and then we'll get into the news. And when we come back, I want to take phone calls on it because I want to see if there's some people out there, and I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I hope somebody does. But you know what impact this should have on our community? 2 police officers in the middle of the night assassinated. I mean, there's no other word. They think this guy unloaded up to 30 rounds at point blank range on the young man. I say we build some gallows and we hang him.
And that young one is Justin Martin.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we build some gallows down in front of the Polk County Courthouse, or you put them in the middle of the State Fair deal. Whatever is the largest thing we can do. We go out to Waterworks Park and we hang this guy. And we send the message to every single cotton-picking person who is within eye shot, ear shot, TV shot, internet shot, whatever of this guy in this event, that this is unacceptable. And we will go above and beyond to make sure that everybody knows how unacceptable this is. So what do you think? It's your voice I want to hear. Am I being unchristian? Am I supposed to let God handle the vengeance? Because I know what the Bible says. I also know what the Bible says in Genesis, that any man who spills another man's blood ought to have his blood spilled. Especially the way this one was done. So we'll talk about it when we come back. And the president of the ISU sends out a politically stained message, like Taylor said. It's coming up live today in Mac's World. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.